review, right? Just to kind of like see where everyone's at. So I know you kind of started off in the middle of the week last week, and we had some good discussions on um, piecing together like just visuals, right? Because you're an engineer, right? Yeah. So this all comes down to how we think. You know what I mean? So when we're in here, we see things, and we the one thing the brain wants to do all the time is overthink, right? So we always got to just start off with the basic. All right, let's remember the first 4 weeks, right, is broken down to where the first week is just understanding the 1, 2, 3, right? So there are real basics to what we have here, and the basics are just okay. If I'm doing a long, right, which is kind of what we're focusing on right now. I need the volume on the 3 minute to be positive. I need it to retest the zero line, and I need that momentum to roll into the 15-minute time frame. And then if I'm getting a 1 hour RSI moving up, a 15-minute RSI moving up at the same time, I have double momentum. And and that's kind of like the beginning, right? But if you can't get the volume to cooperate on the 15-minute like the 3 minute, then you start to see the weakness, right? Because coins move up and down, right? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to catch the momentum move, right? Which is kind of like the swing of the move, right? Is where it goes up to a level, comes back and retests, goes up a little bit higher, come back and retest, right? And most people call a higher high, higher lows, right? And what we're doing here is we're just getting to the nitty gritty, right? At the end of the day, all that really matters is not the higher high or the higher low, but the momentum of the volume that's coming in. Because what we want to do is we want to know that we have a move that is going to deliver us a 1 to 3% average move, right? And if we have that average move, then we know that when we enter the trade, the worst case scenario for us would be a 20% take, or an average in the middle, right? The most it's going to go up is maybe 100, 120%, but we're shooting for the middle gap, right? Which means we can come in, we can allow it to build momentum before we enter, and what we're trying to do is trade the middle of the gap. So that way we have safety, and then we have possibility of extension, right? So that's the first part, is just learning the basics of how momentum works, and how looking at the same indicators over and over, you can simply develop a quick way to go, okay, my 3 minute volume is moving heavy. The 15-minute went positive. Okay, we might have a trade here. Where's my 1 hour moon? Oh, it's on its way. Perfect. The 1 hour RSI is moving up. Oh, I need to think of a trade. Now it comes back, touches and retests, and then starts to shoot up. Now you're in the middle of that momentum trade, right? Because when you do longs, you have to remember, like, we never know when the trade is going to be, bought up or not bought up, right? So it's the harder trade to do. And that's why we start with that trade, because it teaches us volume, momentum, and, it kind of, keeps us humble in what we're doing, because we have to be very accurate and precise to get shit done. Now, once we master these beginning moves, which is our basic move, which is 15-minute positive volume, breaking above, retesting the zero line, then when it starts to head up again, as long as the RSI 15 resets, it starts to head up. If it's going up with the 1 hour, then we hop in there and we just take that little bit of a ride, right? So once we get that part down, which is the 1, 2, 3 step, then we start, the rest of it will just kind of like fall into place, because you're seeing it. You're seeing the 3 minute move up. You're seeing your volume on your other time frames come in. You're seeing the momentum pick, and you're just naturally like see that develop, and that'll get you where you need to go, right? Now, the rest of it is like shorting. The opposite side is a lot easier, because the short is guaranteed, right? So, which means, once people push a coin so far up, it's going to come to an end. And eventually, people have to sell and take profits, because that's why they bought it in the first place. So it's a lot easier to catch the profits on the way down because everybody wants to go down, right? That's guaranteed. Like, the one thing I can guarantee you 100% of the time is any crypto that pumps will come back down. Now, what I can't guarantee you is every coin that goes down will go up. You know what I mean? Like, at any time, at any point, they could just go to zero, right? So we never know when it's going to bounce. This is why, the support, the resistance, and all that, they're only 50% accurate, right? So what we're learning is to catch the momentum buy, which means when sensitive is going our way, but more importantly, not just people wanting for it to go up, but it actually going up based on value, right? And that's how we use our indicators to track price action and volume. And then we jump in on that momentum. We only need one candle to make money. And then once we get that down, now we have a system that we can do over and over and over and make money. And then we learn how to extend that system based on the market. The better the market gets, the better the value. And when you see that, then you push your profits higher. And eventually you start running into those 3, 4, 5, 700. I mean, come bull run, you guys will do 30,000, 4,000% trades. Like, it'll be crazy. But right now, you're learning how to trade in a bear. It's still a bear market, right? We still have no retail investors coming in. We still have, we're only at what we at 1.6 trillion, right? A bull market, we need to break 2 trillion, right? We have to be in the 2 trillion market. Where we kind of were, we got to 1.7 with the Bitcoin news, but it didn't evolve over, right? But let me take a look at it today. It doesn't mean that it's not going to come in. They're just letting it, marinate, right? Because you got to understand, market makers understand that the market has to go up, and then they try to milk it for as much as they can with FOMO. That's why you see all these ads like 3 best cryptos to buy before 2025, Bitcoin ETF to the moon. All they do is run all the articles on how Bitcoin's going to 100,000 and the world's going. It's finally the moon run. The halvening's here. This is coin. If you would have invested in Bitcoin 3 years ago, blah blah blah, right? So you get all these things that come in, and what they're trying to do is get all the money they can in there so they can understand where the market is, right? And then once that market starts to fizzle out, right, which is the market cap, and they couldn't get the 1.7 to 2 trillion, then they know that that's the end of the money. So as an investor, right, a market maker, you then take out your money, because what you need to do is you need to reinvest that money, and you need to constantly stack it into new floors. So they need to sell off, that 300-400 million or 100 trillion, 3-4 or 100 million, yeah, 300-400. Oh, actually it's billion, 300-400 billion. They need to sell that off. And then they let the floor go down, and then people decide where their fear is, right? Are these part-time investors, or are these paper hand investors? Are these long-term investors? Are these gamblers? And then everyone starts pulling their money, and all of a sudden they hit a floor. And then once they get to a floor, then the big money comes back in, and it's like, all right, let's start buying this crypto here because it has a good a good fan base, right? Good news coming up, good project, et cetera, et cetera. And then they pile their money in and create a new floor. But in the meanwhile, on the way down, they created a bunch of bag holders. Now the bag holders can't sell. So there was an article on Bitcoin back in, I think I posted about it, right? So 1.3 million BTC bought in 2024. So at some point, yeah, Bitcoin will continue moving forward. I mean, yeah, I mean like this, right? I mean, Bitcoin, I mean, these guys, it's just kind of crazy, but there was a point here where Bitcoin had a moment where there was here, top 3 hours, top 3 currencies to watch in February. But there was a moment that Bitcoin had, according to our research, just over 19.4 million Bitcoins in circulation. This could include everything. But there was an article that said Bitcoin was 1.3 million Bitcoins were bought at 40 some thousand, right? 40, I think it was like 44,000, right? It was pretty crazy. And right there, that's your bag holders, right? So now they know that they've got all these people in at 44,000, which means they can dump it as far as they need to dump it. And then those people have to hold, and they're going to create some type of foundation. And then when they come in on those people, it's like having a target, right? If I know that there's $100 million at 44,000, and I dump I say, oh, okay, well, let me dump my market share, and I dump it down to 40,000, 36, 37, and then I buy back in, I can calculate my money from 40,000 back to 44,000 because they can't sell until they break even. And they're not going to sell until they make 20%. So that's automatic gains for a market maker. You see what I'm saying? It's like you put a target already on Bitcoin at 44,000, and now they have to go back to it, right? So this is why the market moves that way, and it gives them automatic gains, right? And it's kind of what it is, right? So this is why when we're in the market, what we're doing is when it pumps up and goes up to where it needs to go, it's easier to do the pullbacks because those are simple, right? Because we know that everyone's going to sell on the bag holders and they're going to create a floor, and market makers are not they're not hodlers, okay? They make markets. How they make markets is they put 100 million in, take 30 million out of your money, and then compound that money, and they turn that into another 300 million, and they keep doing it, right? They learn how to compound, right? And if any type of investor who's ever been around knows the secret to wealth is compounding interest, right? You can compound $1 to $1 million in a lifetime. So, that's where that one basic theory is what they use, just like they use the Wycliffe theory over and over. Same thing works, right? It's an emotional roller coaster, and people are emotional, and no matter what they do, they can't stop their emotions. So everyone who piled in at $43,000 Bitcoin, I mean, you got to be asinine to do that, right? Because it's like, what? I mean, we were at 15,000. So if you believed in Bitcoin, if you understood the technology, if you understood anything about Bitcoin, then you would have took all your money and bought it at 15,000, because that we know for sure it's going to 30. Like, it's not going anywhere. And if it reaches 100,000 or 150, you 10x your money. It's the best investment, right? So FOMO is the people that come in and listen to all the bullshit of like, I wonder if it's going to get approved. Of course it's going to get approved. The approval of ETFs did nothing for crypto. All it did was make the banks money to hold other people's investments. There's 43% of the money inside of the America is held by baby boomers who will only invest in crypto if their bank lets them invest. Now, does that mean the banks are going to go out there and buy a bunch of crypto? No, because they have enough money in investments in other ETF. An ETF is a shared bond holder, so they don't need to actually hold Bitcoin to pay off the price of Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So did nothing for crypto. All it did was say that currently there's enough people wanting to invest in crypto, but it doesn't make it legit, right? So that's why people have to understand the markets are never going to change what they do. You buy the rumor, sell the news, right? Market makers will always take their profits and they will compound them. That's how they do business, right? So what we do here is we use our indicators to locate momentum shifts and movements. And then once we get a confirmed amount, so the indicators are based on percentages. When the indicators locate a certain amount of volume and pressure, it lets us know, depending on what time frame we're on, right? And then we can see on our 3-minute that it's starting to build volume. If it can't hold positive volume on the 3-minute, then it's definitely not going to break out. If it can hold positive volume on the 15-minute, there's enough possibility there. There's an 80% chance that we'll get a 1% move there, right? And if the 1-hour RSI and the 15-minute RSI both are, the 1 hour is headed up and the 15-minute resets and starts to head up, that means that people are starting to pick up the momentum, which will give us a 1.5% move to 2, right? So we get in on that movement, because if they fail to break up and fail to make the move, we still are able to sneak out 20 to 30%, right? But we have better odds. We have an 80% chance to hit 50% and get out of the way. Now, what happens after that? That just depends on the market, who gets in, who gets out, etc. But we don't really care, because our job is to master 10 trades a week at 50%. And if you have a $1,000 bag, it's $5,000 a week. If you only do 10 trades, it's 2,500 or 5 trades. So if you do half the trades you're trying to do in a week with $1,000, you got 100 grand a year. Very simple system, right? Now, the beauty of it is once you learn how to get into shitty longs, which you're learning in the first 2 weeks, and execute a very simple plan, then you will automatically notice shorts because you would have seen how many times something was going to go long, and you would see the volume disappear, and you'd be like, oh, okay, it's going short. You're going to learn a short just by basically trying to get a long, right? The only difference is you will execute on a short after the first couple weeks because now you'll start taking advantage of those pullbacks, right? Which are the easiest trades to do. So you need to learn a hard trade first. The easy trade is just a cherry on top, and it all comes down to the same system. So for your first week, I know I think it came in like Tuesday or Wednesday or last week, right? And we had a little combo in there. So you're an engineer with a good background. So give me a rundown of like how you feel so far in the first week. Like have we got enough like information? Are the videos working for you? Are we getting enough one-on-ones? Like give me your opinion.
Going, it worked. Um, but it's the hardest thing for me is the patience. The patience is the hardest thing.
Okay, that makes sense. How is
Uh,
the
yeah,
how's the system? Are the videos clean for you? Do you like when you give me a rundown of your
the
intro?
system's good. I'm taking notes. I'm modifying my notes, like all the. And I run that checklist all the time. I kind of doing it like right here. It's just I've got like 4 coins I'm looking at. I just keep going over like each one of them. I hit it. Look at the 1 hour. I look at the 15 minutes. Uh, then I look at the 3 minute and see what's developing on these things. So that's kind of ingrained in my head now.
Okay. And then, so overall, right now, so far, are we the one-on-ones and the talking? Are you getting like compared to what you thought you would be getting? How you doing with that? Are you getting enough attention where you feel like you're getting support or what?
Yeah, no, I am. Of course, I'm in the room. I don't know when I should be available to do this because I think like, initially I'm like, okay, if I'm have time, I can jump in and make money. And I've learned it doesn't work that way because like the weekend was pretty crappy. I tried a couple things, didn't work out. Um, but I got more structured my day now, and I know that I show up in the morning for a while, and things should be okay. 2 to 4, I did some. I kind of went back and looked at some of the past. Like I looked back a week on some of the coins and looked at what happens on weekdays. So I could see that from like 1 p.m., 3 p.m. things kind of die off.
Hmm. Yeah, the volume disappears. We don't have support of the market at that time. So come weekends, we don't get the
Right.
support of the overall market.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. I didn't know when I should be here working on what times to the time to trade, that kind of stuff. And so I'm learning that.
Okay, yeah, yeah, you're start. So like what happens is, and that sounds about right. That's perfect. So what happens is when you first start off is you kind of like have to what you're doing is you're learning something, right? So it takes about a week to kind of get the basics into your head, and then while you're doing that, you're also building a schedule. Like, okay, when am I in? When am I out? When can I trade? When can I not trade? Right? That kind of comes in the second week where you're building. It's going building into your own lifestyle, right? And then you start realizing, okay, markets are weak on the weekend, so weekdays are better for me. Then you start finding times to trade during the weekdays, and then you start getting to the point where when you're trading on the weekdays, you're getting to the point where you're starting to find times, right? So you start to see the markets better, and then you start to find little zones that fit you better, right? So once you get that over, this will be the next 2 weeks, kind of just figuring out how to implement this into your life, and then building patience as well. And then the third week will be where we'll have a little more structure in there, times of trading. you'll find a group of guys that'll start trading at the same time. So then you'll have a group that can work together, and then classes will be throughout the week up and down on different time frames, and then we'll start building into the maxes where people are like, well, the majority of people are here at this time from 7 to 10 or whatever. And then we start working with the class as far as like what their average times are. And then, yeah, just strengthening up everybody. So it sounds like you're right on pace there. So overall, it sounds like you're really starting to get, I see that you got your trade in there, starting to work it over. And that UMA, that's a crazy trade. I mean, 50% on UMA, that only has a 15x leverage. So you can see the power of just, you know, the lower leverages getting in there. So we always like to trade at least 30% leverage, but everything seems to be moving there. So far, I feel like you're starting to get it. And, you know, I think the hardest thing in the beginning is realize when you want to make money is that, you know, you got to take at least a week to learn some basics. Jesus, bonkers. Shout out to Bonkers. 74% there on 250. All right, so in Bonkers, hey Bonkers, what's up, bro? You hear me, brother? I see your mic come out, man. So Bonkers got a trade in there. So he's got a Sue trade. He did a short for 75x, made 250 on that. So Bonkers is a new guy coming in. Very nice. Jimmy, 20% X. So it's good to kind of see where, you know, everyone's just slowly moving into their little zone. I think you might have the Bonkers. I got you, bro. I see you not muted, but you might have to go to your settings down below by your name and check out your microphone settings on your voice and video. You go down to voice and video. I think I made a video about this, but I'll make another one. Go to voice and video. And then in voice and video, you have your input, output microphones. You can change those up. But so far, I see decline in here as well. 49%, that's very good. So it seems like everyone who's coming in 41%. So declines in here making moves too. So you got the whole new group slowly after their first week. I mean, that's a good move. You know, they're starting to get it. You know, and then as we move along, you know, the guys who are vacation coming back from holiday will come in, and then we'll get, you know, they'll come in with now that they know the new group's in, and they'll start spending a little more time inside here. So you guys will probably run into Stelios, Horse, and so forth, right? Carlos, Alf, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's making their little move. So this week we'll spend more time just executing throughout the week and getting everybody kind of set up there.
Okay. I really enjoy trading with you. You handle things a lot differently. You're very fast, so it's hard for me to keep up and learn what you're doing. But I feel like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of times, really, what it is, we're just talking. So we're not actually trading yet. We're just covering the basis, right? So the only thing we want to do. That's why I kept going over the Whiskey Tango. That's why I kept going over the basics, like just, you know, let's just master the 3-minute pattern that moves into a 15-minute pattern, right? So first the 3-minute volume shows positive reinforcement. Then we move to the 15-minute volume. Once we get positive reinforcement, we go down and say, okay, 15-minute reset. We need a 1-hour moon possibility with a 1-hour RSI. Okay. And then we start moving in there. Now, as we move forward, the clones are out today, boys. And as we move forward, you know, we'll start introducing steps to maximize profits, right? The first thing is, you know, when you got to learn the basics, right? You know, this is the gas pedal, this is the brake pedal, this is drive, this is reverse, this is neutral. Once we get that down, then we can implement, like, you know, how to take a turn, right? How to you know, drift and all that good shit. Let's see here.
Hey, BC.
Yes, sir.
I see people posting in the 10 trade, and then I'm posting in the academy room. Which one should we post in?
Yeah, so you should always do your 10 trade review, right? Yeah, so you can do both, man, but you just want to kind of like post in there, and then what this will allow us to do is when we go back at the beginning of this week, we'll have, like, in the middle of the week, we'll have reviews. We'll go back and look at these, right? So you just want to post how you did. Obviously, you know, this is where if you have a trade that goes bad, I can go look at it. You know what I mean? But so far, I mean, you got
Yeah.
Rose, you're up 50% on Rose. So like here, Loom, right? So you have a Loom short 0952, right? So I can go back. That was yesterday at 12:24. I can look at that, trade. So like for instance, I can go back here and say, yo, so yesterday you were on Loom. Yesterday, 12:24 p.m. my time, right? So this allows me to have where we have a one-on-one. I can go to Loom 12:24 yesterday, right? So let's see. And we can kind of like review that and go over some basics to make that a little bit better. So Loom, we'll slide that in there. XC, all right, and then I double check. This is yesterday, 12:24 p.m. Okay, then I go down to my time frames. I need the 15-minute, and I look for what was yesterday, 121. And I'm gonna start the box off. Doom, 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 doom. Okay, 12:24. So that would be the 21st. There we go. Here's the 21st and 12:24. So somewhere at this point right here. All right. And then I can double check that time. I can go to the 3-minute. I can open this up here. And then I can see right here I have a 12:30 time frame, and that would put Loom at about 098. And then I can look at your call, and I can see Loom short 0952. So 952, 12:24, 12:24. All right, so now I can get a little more specific on here. So let me see here, 12:24. Boom, boom. Oh, you were just early on that one, brother. All right, so now I go to the 1 minute because I want to be really accurate on this. 12:24. There, you were right on that, dude. Yeah. Okay. So when you hopped in, right, and I'll share my screen here real quick. Let me know when you guys can see it. Who we got in there? Frank Loonseed. Wish I had a mentor. Scammers don't mess with. Hey, listen, Frank, if you guys want to take any classes or any courses, make sure you send me a Gmail. It's the only way I talk to you. VC Crypto Nation. It's the name of the channel. VC Crypto Nation. You hear me, Frank? VC Crypto Nation at Gmail. You hear me, Frank? VC Crypto Nation at gmail.com. All right. Welcome in, Joey. Good to see you, man. All right. So here we're going to take a look at Decline. You guys see my screen?
Yep.
So I can see here you posted a short position at 952, right? You see Loom short here yesterday. All right, Loom. Okay, so you actually got, okay, here you came a little bit earlier. And you were right on top of that, bro. That was actually a big short. So yours was actually at 1104. You ended up losing here 28%, and we're going to go over why. So you had a short come in at 952 at 11 a.m. All right, so let me go back to Loom. So I need 11 a.m. All right, so now I need to take my little piece here, and I'm going to slide this down to 11 a.m. Are you Central Time? Decline?
Yeah.
All right, so they should be the same
Yeah,
time for you. Okay. So, all right, let me slide in here and just double check. So when you posted that, it was 1104. All right, so Loom short 952 at 1104. So then I just checked the pricing, 952, and let me put that line in there. Okay, so that looks like 952. We'll make that a little bit thicker. That's about right, 1104. Okay, so now, I mean, you were ahead of that. This ends up being a massive short. You were just early. All right, so let me click on this. Now, walk me through, like, when you took this short, what was, okay, so here's what I'll show you, right? So first things first, I go to my 3-minute, right? And the first thing I want to see is a decline in value, okay? So what was the trigger to this short? Do you remember what triggered the short on here at 1104?
I think I had like a moon alert or something, probably on the 15.
Okay, so quickly as you take,
I don't know, it's messing with the alerts around then.
yeah. So here you have a short, right? And you came in, but the volume is low. right? It isn't up yet. So that's a good sign that this is a short coming, right? Now, if I go here and I take a look at the first thing that I need is going to be a 15-minute red moon, right? So let's go into a spot where no matter what happens here, we need some type of moon action, right? So you probably actually has a green moon at that time. So you have you see my screen there? So pull it up on your trading view too. So you actually have a 15-minute green moon right there. So on here, here's the red moon here, which was a little bit further back. There was a slight pullback on there. The RSI, 15-minute RSI came down. It then bounced and created a green moon, which was that last hurrah push. And then that following red moon goes into a 15-minute trend. And that is where, if you were just a little bit later on this, you would have caught a very beautiful short on here. So 15-minute moon was actually going green. All right, let me look at the 1 hour. Okay, and pull this up on TradingView and take a look to see if you have the same thing. Otherwise, we have to make some adjustments to the setup. So here we have a 1 hour. Yeah, when you got to that on your alert, everything I'm seeing at 11:04 is green. So we even have a 1 hour green moon here. All right, you see here on the 1 hour. And check your TradingView real quick to see if that's right.
I'm pulling it up right now.
And make sure that your candles are on Heikiya Ashi.
They are.
You see, are you looking at that 1 hour moon there? Go back to 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it is a green moon.
So what, so when the alert, was it when the alert popped up, did you click on the alert itself?
I did. I mean, that's the first time I was really using alerts, so I'm not sure if I was using it correctly then. I know I've done better even today with the alerts.
Yeah, I mean, first week you're learning in there. So, but that ended up being the green there. So I'm just making sure that you have the regular candles on so we can get that right on there. All right, so let's see.
Yeah, it is a green on mine.
All right. So we got a green on there, and was that pump. Now, when this pumped, you can see here, and what I want to look at is when it became a green 15-minute green moon, there was a pump. The 1 hour moon came in. Now, just like how we talk about everything is the beginning pattern, right? So the first pattern you guys are learning on the 15-minute is the break of the positive volume on the moon indicator. Then we want a retest of the positive volume on the 15-minute. And then we enter on the bounce of the positive volume retest when the RSI resets, right? Which would be down here would be the reset thing, right? So we would let it reset, which would be this reset here. And then we would look for a bounce to the top as long as this part actually heads back up, right? Now, the thing that happened here was, go ahead.
So I think the RSA below 80 and coming up.
Yeah. What I'm saying is like, so just like on the 15-minute, we're going to play this long here, right? We would, on the 15-minute, we would see a bounce, a retest, and then a run. We'd let the 1 hour bounce and then start to run up, right? So the long would actually be somewhere when the retest comes down here, right? What happens is you can see the 1 hour doesn't hold its volume, you see? And it keeps going. Plus you have the 1 hour RSI crossing down, you see that? So to me, as soon as I see that happen right there, this is where this becomes a short play to the bottom, right? And then this confirms it because it fails to hold its volume, you see?
Yeah.
So now when we go back and look.
I haven't watched the volume is key video yet. I watched that after this trade.
Yeah, you can watch it afterwards, but we're going to cover it. We're like right now, we're covering the same basic volume every single time. So this is the trade you're going to focus on right now for the next week anyways, right? So here we can see the volume coming in. So we already know the 1 hour at this point right here is where it crosses down. So I'm going to leave that line in there. and that'll give us our section of the cross down, right? So now when I shift over to the 15 minute, right, we can see here we have the same scenario, right? So to get a long position, okay, we would have the 15-minute green moon come in, which is what happened here. The RSI pushes up to get positive volume, which we get right here. So we get the first push up on the 15-minute to here. The retest happens right here, just like the 1 hour. But notice instead of going up to continue this long position, so instead of bouncing and going up here, it decides that it's going to break down and it fails to hold, right? Now, the secret is this, is that the big thing was that at that moment, the 1 hour RSI was heading down. And notice here, your 15-minute was also headed down, you see?
Yeah.
So what you would have done on your short that you wanted to play was you would, when that alert came out, right? And this is kind of where the mistake was, right? If you would have just had this one safety net in place, this would have saved you. When that alert came for the short, which happened right here at 11 o'clock, if you would have looked at your 15-minute RSI, you see how it's at the bottom?
Yeah.
So you would have said, okay, I'm going to short this, so I'm going to let this come up. And you would have said, well, this actually doesn't look like a short, but I got to let the RSI come to the top before I get into my short. So if that one little thing on your checklist, so you have a little piece of paper, a sticky note or whatever, and you just write down there, trade with the 15-minute RSI. So right there, when at 11 o'clock came, you would have noticed that your 15-minute RSI was headed up. So you would have had to let that finish its move first. So when it made its move to the top and it got there, which would have been right here, right in that section right there, then you would have been like, okay, this is my short position, right? RSI heading down at this moment. All you would have been waiting on is the alert for the red moon, which happens right here. You see that red moon?
Yep.
Then that's your entry point right there on that alert. And plus at that time, you can see right here, I'll move this to the red moon. The 15-minute is already headed down on the RSI. And if we slide over to, and before I leave here, also another thing to note is that the 15-minute volume is actually heading down for a retest, but we have a red moon. So that basically gets rid of this retest option because it's already red. So we have to go to short here in this position, right? So that moves downward, right? At that same exact time, if I go to my 1 hour, you can see that my 1 hour is also heading down at that time, you see?
Yeah.
And then that is where you would enter your short.
I got a question on this exact same thing.
Uh-huh.
So on the short, you've got your 3-minute red moon, red trend, heading down, 15-minute. Everything you're only waiting on a red, but your RSI is crossing down past 50%.
Okay.
You hold off because, like right now, it's actually UMA. I get a red moon. RSI is just crossing down past 50% in 15 minutes, with the 5-minute and 3-minute are already on the floor pretty much.
Yeah, no, because remember, the bigger the time frames, the bigger the power, right? So when we get to this point here, which you can see right here, this is on the 3-minute, right? If this is where the 15-minute broke down, right? You see that?
Yep.
And what happened was you would be playing the 3-minute to the move to the upside, right? Which is up here. And then when it decides to go back down, that's where you would take your entry. What did it do right there? It broke down, you see?
Yeah.
And we're in a really good position here because the 15-minute is at the top. Now, let's say that the 15-minute was already down to here, right? Then we would want the 3-minute to go to the top and give us more room to come down. But since the 15-minute is in its full spot way up here, we have all this pull down, which is stronger than the 3 minute. But 3 minute did react. The 3 minute was pushing up when you were deciding to make your trade, and then it decided to come down, and that is the same exact entry that we would have seen on the 15 minute, the 1 hour. They all lined up. And then when we take a look at it over in the overall, you can see here that we already have a 3 minute red moon here. And we just triggered the 3 minute red trend right here. See? So theoretically, this trade is a short the minute that 3 minute trend comes in. And that happened right there. So when he got in there, if he would have got in, if he would have just waited on his 15 minute red moon, which hit here, he would have had his 1 hour RSI coming down as well. And he would have been in the minimum case would be somewhere in this point here. He would be in a short position, right? And then what happens is this ends up running for quite a bit. I mean, no matter how it goes, he gets down in this section here. So there would have been a easy, remember, he's only going for 50%, but I mean, as he learns to move along, if he's doing a 30x on that, that actually created 300%. So that's why we post inside there, because now he can see and be like, oh, I just misread my moon, right? But what he really learned is when he looks at a trade, if he's doing a short, all he really had to do to save his ass was just turn around and go, where's my 15-minute RSI? Oh, need to let it bounce. And then while he's letting it bounce, he would have been able to look it over, and then he would have realized that this is actually 15 minutes to the top, and then he would have realized his 1 hour is also crossing down. So when the 15-minute moon hit, he has the 1 hour and the 15 both crossing down, which are stronger than anything else. So all you really need is the 3 minute moon and trend to confer, which it does at the same exact time that this is all happening. And now he's in this trade up here, taking the short. But the only thing he really needed to do there was make sure the 15 minute was, in his favor. At that time, it was at the bottom. It needed to go up. And the 1 hour needs to be going down as well. So what happened when the 15 minute got to the top? The 1 hour and the 15 minute both started going down at the same time right here, which created the short position that he wanted to be in originally. See how that worked out? You see that, Klein?
Yeah, so close.
Oh, yeah, real close. Real close. But that's the point of it, guys. Like, so, Klein, I got you on here. So kind of going over I think you came in last week too, right? You came in sometime last week. Okay. So overall, Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? So overall, we just like, yeah, so we like to do a quick thing on the first week. I know it's kind of like a midweek. Some guys came in on Tuesday, Wednesday, some guys came in Friday, but everyone gets a chance to go to the intro videos, course intro, watch the videos. We make some new videos as we go through. So on that side, so how the videos, when you go to the YouTube, you go in there and watch them, are they pretty clear cut?
Yeah, they've been good. I've watched them multiple times. It takes me a little bit to pick them up, but once I continue doing it, I pick it up.
Okay.
I mean, I've done pretty good trading today.
Yeah, no, I know you guys are going to get better and better right now. So the most thing is like, it's just staying consistent, right? Yeah, the one thing we can do is I have guys come in here, start with $300, they get to 3,000 in 2 weeks, right? The problem is we have to do it to where it's an automatic thing where we don't change or push our luck or push things without understanding how to make more money, which comes in the next kind of like understanding, right? Right now, we just want to hit our trades, hit our 50% compound, get the basics down, right? So a lot of times guys will say to me like, I want to take a trading course, but every time I sign up, I get a trading course video and then I never get support. So like, are you finding, in this, are you getting support, or, are the one-on-ones helping? Are the classrooms where we all go in the live trade? I mean, how do you feel right now as far as like getting the help you need to at least understand what's happening?
Yeah.
Is it enough? Are you finding that are you getting enough support on there?
The video, yeah, the videos have been good for me. I haven't had a one-on-one yet, but like I said, I'm pretty new. I've just been doing the videos over and over again and trying with real little money, but I seem to be picking it up. I like the system.
Yeah, and then well, we also have the classroom where everybody's in live trade. So is the ability to go in there and sit in live trade and listen to while we're in there talking and everything, is that helping you out? Are you finding like you can find
Yeah, the live
support in
trades
there?
have been good.
Okay. So you like the live trade option in the Discord where everyone's in there? We can kind of like you can reach out to Alf or Horse. I don't know if you talked to Horse or Stelios yet.
I haven't. I talked to Alf. I was up late one night and he was on talking to him about the indicators and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, the most important thing is like getting to where we have an and this is a new class, right? So everybody's kind of like everyone's new here. But as we move forward, guys who that's why we always practice the same thing over and over. Once we have the basics in, then we can repeat the basics over and over, and then it's easy to teach the basics because everyone's teaching the same thing, right? We're looking for this, this, and this, this, and this, right? And then we start executing at that. The other part of it, I made that video inside the intro was explaining how we can mathematically change the way you take profits, right? I think I threw that in there. VC Nation course, how to make the perfect entry, right? And then we basically stop losses, right? So as we move forward, we'll be able to get into where we adjust things, right? So you're doing great, man. So I want to kind of like touch base with you too, because the point of having the 10 trade review is I can go in there and look at your losses, your wins, and I can see how you did, right? And so far you've done pretty well. Like, so it's like the little bitty things that you have were small adjustments, right? So yesterday we have a 2 p.m. blur. Let me see where the blur came in. And blur came in at 11. Is that at the same time at 11 o'clock? Blur 6-1. Let's go take a look at blur real quick.
Yeah, I was kind of in all three of those right then.
Yeah, you're fine, man. All right, blur. And the one thing you want to do is, so on that, the only other thing that we're missing is on the trades, with the 10 trade review, you want to write these down. You kind of want to write down on Loom how far it went back before it went forward, right? And then you want to write how far it went up before it, didn't go anywhere. So we need the furthest it went back, and then we need the highest that it went. Okay.
I started a log that. I got a little log book that I write down all my trades in.
All right. Yeah, those are the two important things. How far it goes back before it goes forward on every trade, and how high is the percent it reaches before it closes out anywhere. So the lowest percent it goes and the highest percent it goes. And that'll help us in the next lessons to improve the spots there. All right, so blur, we have a 6171, and that was also at 11 a.m. All right, so blur 6171. Let me slide to the 3 minute. This was 11 o'clock yesterday. So we'll take a peek at this real quick. '21. There we go. 11 a.m. Right about here. Okay. Got about 11 a.m. We're going to review this one too. All right. So blur 11:03. Okay. Let's open this up. There we go. That's where we're at. A little bit north of that, somewhere in here. Okay. So now I can go look, and we have what? A blur short 6171. 6171. So go down here, 6171, which is right about here. Let me put my line across. Okay. And then, man, you were right on this one too, brother. All right. So, Jesus. All right. So, first things first, right? First thing I want to look at is the 1 hour, just to see what his alert is and where he's getting, right? So, first thing I want to do is just check the basics, which is just the safety net, first safety net of overall. All right, let's slide over here. Let's find the 1 hour. All right, so here's our box in here. Okay, so now we come down, and all I want to do is kind of like mark off my 1 hour in the zone here. So not too bad. He's coming in right where he needs. He has a 1 hour red moon here, a little bit behind on it, but all in all, good looking shot at it here. So here's your 1 hour red moon, right? Let's pull that up here. So on the 1 hour red moon, right, we can focus on the volume, right? So we can see here see how the volume bends up, and then right here it starts to give up right here and starts to bend down. So normally that little bend down right there would be the time that I would take that short position, right? Because right here you see the RSI coming down, but it's going flat. You can see here the RSI is bouncing up, but then it's rejecting, and we can tell by the money is going to lead the RSI. This is basically the stochastic RSI is how many people are buying. The volume line on the moon is like what they're buying, how much they're actually buying. So here they're not buying enough to get rid of the sellers. And you can see the sellers line is also, when you go up to the top, you can see the seller line is also breaking down there. So even if the 1 hour RSI is at the bottom, it's not going against us, which would be like it's doing right here. It's actually just bottomed out. So we can see it bounce off here. Let me open that up. So we can see the RSI bounce here, and then right here, it starts to head down. But we can see that a little bit earlier because we see that on the money line right there is where the money line starts to break down quicker, right? So right there, the money line breaks down. That would be where we take that entry point, right? So now let me go look at the 15. So the entry point would be the money line breaking down in here. Let me turn this 1 to red. Then this is our entry point. Okay, so far so good. 1 hour red moon, RSI heading down. Let's jump to the 15 minute, which is where we normally make our decisions, right? So then we jump to the 15 minute, right? And I'm trying to see how you actually lost this trade. Right, because you did a short, yeah? Was that a short?
I don't know if I lost that one.
Yeah, because you have like a 45x. You did the short closes. So was your stop loss at 20?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Got to start off at 30. You got to start off at 30. Right? We'll make those adjustments as we go forward. But yeah, that's what happened. You stop loss at 30, and then it made that big ass dump. Oof. Okay. So here you have your 15-minute red moon, right? So if you get the alerts, here's the 1 hour alert right here, right? We got the alert. We go back and look. We already have a 15-minute moon. Now, as you can see here, you see how the 15-minute volume goes negative, comes up right there and touches, and then starts to head down, right? Now, when the 15-minute touches, you see that volume right there? See on my screen right there?
Yeah.
So you would have been, if you would have got a 1 hour alert, right? So if you were watching the 15-minute moons, right, you would have got a 15-minute moon alert, and you would have been like 15-minute moon RSI at the top. If you would have looked at that time, right, just to kind of give you an ideal. So if you would have looked when you got that moon, right, I'm gonna turn this into green because that would have been the biggest way to get in this trade. If you went back to your 1 hour, when you got that 15-minute moon and that 15-minute trend was heading down, notice here that your money line on your 1 hour was also headed down, and the 1 hour RSI was headed down right there. You see that?
Yeah.
That would have put you at this trade way up here.
Right.
And that would have been like a difference of 2%. So it's not that big, but it's just so that you can kind of like see the evolution into your trade, right? So 15-minute RSI heading down, 1 hour RSI heading down. The money line comes there, bounces on the 1 hour, pushes up, has no volume to overtake its previous high, starts to head down. That would have gave me a trigger in my mind that this is a short position here, you see? So now that I know that's happening, I slide back to my 15-minute to get into a position of this short. And I see that the 15-minute moon pops in, right? And I have a 15-minute RSI at the top, which would have gave me this short trade. So entering there would have been, not a bad decision. But remember, every time you enter early on an early position, there's always a bounce or a retest, right? So that means that the other entry comes off of here when the RSI goes back up, right? See how the 15-minute RSI goes back up and then starts to head back down again, which gives us our second entry point, which is right here, which is the one we marked off. You see that?
Okay.
So all trades do the same thing. We always look for a move to one direction. We look for a retest, and then we look for the continuation, right? So first move volume comes down. This would have been another example. Like, see how the volume breaks negative? See how it retests is right here? See that retest right there?
Yeah.
So right here on this retest, right? So and what do we do on a long? We want the 15-minute to go positive. We want the 15-minute to retest the 0 line, and then we enter on the breakdown. You see? Now that would have also confirmed that early entry into the short position. You see what I'm saying? Now, the thing about the early short and the early entry part is that you are still in harm's way of possible, if our 1 hour RSI isn't headed down fully at that time, that there could be a small spike of last orders that come in that stop you out. Now, if that happens and you get stopped out, then you readjust your entry and you wait for the next move, which would be, you know, when this is all heading down, it's a pretty good spot there. But let's say you would have got stopped out there, right? And then it goes down to here and you're like, okay, I'm going to wait for my retest. That would have led you to the next move, which would basically been this. The 15-minute RSI gets to the bottom. It starts to move up. It gets all the way to the top. Next thing you know, it starts to break down on the crossover. It failed to make any positive volume and starts to head down. And all of a sudden, here's our entry into the real short, right? The only reason you lost this trade is because you had your stop loss incorrect. It hit it bounced a little. I think you were in here somewhere in this little zone here, where you had a little bit of yeah, you're right here at 11 o'clock. So let's zoom in on there. So what happened here is on this one candle, your stop loss was at 20 instead of 30, right? Because it's the beginning of the move, and you got stopped out right there on this little wick. You see those little wicks come in on you. Because that was your entry right there. And then you hit that, the candle went up on you. And the reason why, and you can tell right here what happened was the 3-minute RSI is at the top. So you probably took an entry here. It redirected one last push and then went down. You see that? But what you could have looked at,
Got it, yeah.
what you could have looked at there to save yourself from that possible thing was what's the entry? How do we enter any type of trade? We enter on the 3-minute, right? But the 3-minute needs both the same.
Right.
So right here on this entry, you entered when there was a 3-minute green trend. So your entry,
So it needed to be the red trend.
yeah, your entry is right here when the 3-minute confirms right there. You see how the 3-minute confirms right there? 3-minute moon, 3-minute trend. Now you were right on this, bro. But that's all you needed. You got stopped right there. And if you get stopped out, go back and look. And if everything is lining up, realize your mistake. Like, shit, I had a green trend. Red trend comes in, boom, you re-enter that trade, and then you would have been in this. Jeez. Wow. You'd have been in this trade here. This trade whacked out a solid 6% move. So at a 45x, you'd made 300% on it. You see that?
Yeah, yet again, so close.
Yeah, you're getting it, man. These are why we have these little, like, yeah, 3-minute moon. You had the red moon. You didn't have the red trend. And by being in the green trend, it spiked on you. Now, if you would have had your stop loss at 30, you still would have been in that trade. The reason, so normally our stop loss, bro, is set at 15 to 20, okay? The reason when you first come in, you set it at 30 is because of these mistakes that you'll make. And the 30 is to protect you when you make that mistake and then get you in there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we'll make adjustments to get you where you need to go. But in the beginning right there, it was just fixing the thing. If you would have had a 30% stop loss, you would have survived that little bitty wick, and you would have rocked out you'd have hit your 50% or plus if you would have been moving your target. So this is this is all recorded, so you can go back and take a look at this, because I know I cover a lot of things and then we kind of go back, watch the video. I just wanted to kind of like do some trade reviews for you guys. You know, that's what we use Mondays for, is kind of look at the 10 trade review, cover some little basics, and then fix little things one at a time as we move forward. So on that trade, the only thing you had wrong was a 30% stop loss, and you entered on a 3-minute green trend. But both your trades would have won. So I mean, as far as system wise, I think you're getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm definitely picking it up. It's making sense.
Yeah, you right here, it's like you're understanding the indicators are just their safety confirmations of moves, right? So once we get the safety down, then we're able to crank it out and get everything set up there. Let's see what Anthony Cook, what up, baby? All right, so I'm gonna save this out here, guys. So that's kind of like a good first review in there, and that's how you work the 10 trade review, and that's how we review the trades that you do. And then all I need to do as we move forward, Decline will give me like each of his trades, how far they went back, the biggest percent backwards and the highest percent forward, and then we can start working on adjusting entries and things like that to ensure that he is basically executing at the highest level for how he's particularly seeing the trades and entering the trades, right? And keep in mind, guys, it's also a factor that, everything's also based on, like everyone has a different internet, a computer. So when you're using something, you guys might have a slight different lag than most people, but we can adjust for that as well. So just keep in mind that, we're always teaching you guys how to adjust. And then as you make adjustments in the future, buy a better computer, get better internet, whatever, you can then retest your adjustments, and then you understand how to fix and cure any of your moves, and then you'll become a master trader, right? So these are all things that you guys take with you in the course. But so far, for the first, 3 days of training, I think like we're getting some, videos are getting watched, everything's there. And the reason why we're kind of in the beginning, we take our time and make everyone watch videos, is because as we move forward, we start to come faster and quicker. And what happens is, if somebody will ask me a question like, well, how do I set an alert, right? And I'm talking about what we watched in the first 3 days, right? So we want to make sure that we get out all the basic moves down first for the first week and a half, 2 weeks, so that when we move forward, we're hitting the trades that we need to hit, and we're more about execution than we are about basics, right? So far, I think everybody's doing really well. I think we're moving pretty forward, and that is a perfect example of how to post in the 10 trade review, how to get feedback by the 10 trade review, and how to get tips on how to fix the trades that you missed or didn't hit enough of, and how to extend and stuff. All right, guys. So I'm gonna save this video here, stick it into the intro section so all the guys can go back and watch it, and then